But the people who can go fuck themselves are not the people who disagree with me on the censorship debate. And it's not the people from either direction, left or right, who disagree with me on Charlie Kirk. It's not those people. The people who can go fuck themselves are the ones who love to drop these comments when I say something, when I promote an opinion that they don't like. I've followed you for years. I've followed you since the dawn of time, and I just have loved everything you've said, blah, 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 blah. But unfortunately, you've now said something I don't like, and so I'm going to have to stop supporting you. I'm going to have to unfollow you. If you would think, and look, it's not like it's any skin off my back, because let me tell you something, 99% of the time when these motherfuckers say this shit, they're people who have not done a single thing for me ever, who've not provided a constructive comment, who have not donated, tipped, whatever. So it's not even like I care. You think I care with 102,000 subscribers that I'm going to lose 40, 50, 100, 200, oh my God, even 1,000? You think I fucking care? I don't care. All right. What drives me nuts is that these people are doing one thing, and they're doing something insidious with these comments, and they don't even realize what they're doing. What they're trying to do is they're trying to shame me into changing my beliefs, my authentic beliefs that I've come to from decades of experience on both sides of the aisle, I'll have you know, because I've had the experience of being a hardcore leftist. I've had the experience of being hardcore to the right. And now I've settled somewhere in the middle with eclectic views on various things. But as I've said before, generally right of center libertarian. But I have come by to the place that I'm at. I'm not saying it's better than anyone else's place or perspective, but I have come to the place that I am at now through decades of various experiences, just like you, as a human being with a fucking brain, and someone who, let me just say, and I don't pull out this card very fucking often, but someone who has read a hell of a lot of shit, who has read a hell of a lot of stuff from both sides, from many sides. I've read a ton of leftist stuff, and we're talking some intellectual tomes, people. And I've read a ton of right-wing stuff, and I've read a lot of stuff in between, and I've read philosophy, and I've read psychology, and I've read literature. And yes, I do have a fucking PhD for whatever that's worth. But I've also lived in East Texas. I was also a born-again Christian who went to church 3 times a week on average until I went to college, and I started reading some things about the religion that I'd grown up with and never really looked into. And I started having questions, and it was problematic. So I went away from the Christian faith. And I don't even want to talk about my religious beliefs right now. But I've come to these beliefs that I have, just like I would imagine most of you, through years of experience, as we should say, blood, sweat, and tears in a way, of hard life experiences. And so for people out there who say that they have supported me for so long, and I really appreciate the work that you do and your guts in standing up for people, and then for those people to try to shame me out of my hard-earned beliefs, fuck you. Fuck you. Why do you want to do that? Why do you even want to do that? Why do you want to turn someone from what their conscience is telling them to do? That's fucking evil. You want to talk about evil? Making some flippant remarks about some dude out of ignorance and saying, well, he got what was coming to him or whatever. To me, that's not even as evil as someone that you say you've supported for years and that you believe in, trying to shame them into disavowing their beliefs, into becoming a kind of an intellectual slave. So go fuck yourselves, those people. You know who you are. It's just the lowest of the low in terms of rhetorical argumentation, arguing with people. You know, it's best if you use facts. And yes, anecdotal experiences, whatever, and your mind and rationality and your intuition. But to get down bottom of the barrel where you have to apply shame, what's that supposed to make me feel? It's not even an intellectual argument either. What the fuck? So those people, go fuck yourselves. And you can keep saying this. And I'm sure now that I put this out here that it gets on my nerves, I'm going to get many more comments of that nature. So whatever, I'm prepared for just start dismissing it in my head. I started out now to a lot of people who are displeased with my position on Charlie Kirk. And I'm not mad at these people. A lot of them, good friends of mine, and they have valid points. The person that I'm living with, my significant other, you've probably seen him arguing with me on Instagram. So it's not like I'm not open to other perspectives, or I don't believe that people who hold other perspectives are not intelligent. All right. But let me just say, I started covering this Charlie Kirk tragedy from a perspective of nothing but sympathy and empathy for him and for what his murder represented. I did a video. Some of you maybe saw it, where I talked. It was an hour-long video, but I talked for a good half hour about the impact of the assassination and what it meant and all of that. I did a video on Instagram where I used a clip from the movie Jackie about Jacqueline Kennedy, JFK's widow. And in the clip, it's a really moving clip. I posted on Instagram. She's talking about her grief and how and that she doesn't even see a reason to go on in a world this evil and horrible. And she's talking to a priest, and her priest is basically trying to give her some beautiful insights, existential insights about God and about moving on in life and seeing a purpose even in the madness and the chaos and the death. I posted that. Nothing but sympathy and light for Charlie Kirk and for the people who are mourning him. But y'all, once I start seeing people on quote unquote my side, I'm talking people on the right, people who I used to think were libertarians. Once I start seeing these people wanting to get tons of their fellow citizens fired from their livelihoods based on some, most of the time, no, not all, but most of the time, from what I can see, just some ignorant popping off on Twitter and what have you. And yes, it's in bad taste. And yes, it's wrong for people to be saying stuff like that. But you all should know, we should all know that we are all much more than our worst social media pop-offs. And I went to school for years. I went to graduate school in a master's and PhD program, and then I taught in academia for years. I have been around a lot of these quote unquote far leftists for years. A number of them are still good friends of mine. And I know that these people, even with some of the crazy or offensive shit that they say online when they're really worked up about issues that they happen to fucking care about too, I know that these people are better than their worst social media moments. I know that they're better than some ignorant comments that they might make about Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk, for a lot of people, was nothing more than a caricature. And he himself, let's be frank, at times contributed to that. And I'm not even going to issue the stupid fucking disclaimers about, well, just because I'm criticizing him doesn't mean I think that blah, blah, blah. Of course not. Grow up. Stop acting like babies, some of you. Stop acting like you don't know what people are trying to say when they're saying it. But he was a caricature for a lot of people. Fuck, he was a caricature for me. I didn't even watch much Charlie Kirk. And I feel like I'm familiar with and watch a number of these right-wing figures. I couldn't have told you before he was killed more than a few things, a few interactions that I had seen between him and students. And look, all these guys get lumped together in my mind. I thought, honestly, he was more like a Steven Crowder, who can be pretty fucking obnoxious. And so, yes, Charlie Kirk dies. I start seeing these other clips where he's having these really kind of thoughtful, you might even say beautiful exchanges with well-meaning people and transgender people and so forth who are coming to him talking. Yes, of course, I see it. He looks like a great guy. I've been saying it from the beginning. But for a lot of people, that's not what he represented. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's just this social media, this insane social media thing that we are all trapped in. And it's turning us into monsters. I'm not just talking about the assassin. I'm not just talking about people who were yes, terribly celebrating or laughing at Charlie Kirk's death, or basically saying a version of he had it coming to him. I'm saying it's turning us all into monsters to some degree. And you all know it's true. You know it's true. You can feel it happening. So let's cut people a little slack, and let's just not try to take away their fucking jobs. Some of these people you don't know, like they might have health problems. They might have children depending on them, innocent children. Let's talk about the children. Oh, the children. Well, that wasn't Charlie Kirk's children. I'm just talking about in general. Anytime we talk about issues, it seems like there are always people, oh, but the children. Well, let's talk about the children. What about the children of all these people who've gotten fired? Are you going to pay their fucking bills? Are you going to pay their fucking bills? I'm not mad at people who are upset about the people celebrating Charlie Kirk, okay? What I'm mad about is some of you, not my friends that I've talked to, some of you, though, are being extremely uncharitable and narrow-minded in your interpretation of what I am out there trying to tell you. I'm pouring my heart out on social media, trying to fucking explain why this fucking bothers me. And some of you are not even extending a bit of charitable feeling. All the while, you're lionizing this man who supposedly he was just out there trying to have conversation. Well, I'm trying to have a fucking conversation with some of you right now. And I don't need the shaming. And I don't need to be told that I'm just missing the mark here. Yes, of course, there are some crazy, obnoxious people who are saying bad shit on the internet. And you say, well, their employers should know that so that their employers know whether to fire them or not. Well, their employers probably have a good idea of what these people are like if they work with them every day. Do you think that someone's employer really needs to know that they were popping off about Charlie Kirk on Twitter to get a sense of who that person is? I'm assuming if they work with them every day, they know if they're dependable or not. These American Airlines pilots who just got fired, I assume that the guys or gals had up to this point been doing a pretty good fucking job of flying the planes, or at least they hadn't crashed. So now they're out of jobs. Why? Because of something totally irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. And if it weren't such a wide net that I have to be somewhere in a little while, so I'm checking the clock. If it weren't for such a wide net that we're casting with all this stuff, there's that database that's online on Twitter. It's posting that it's got 60,000 names. Did you see this? This database that's amassing all of this information about people, about fellow citizens who have said bad things about Charlie Kirk, or said he deserved it, or it was karma, or even cheered it on, or whatever. They've got 60,000 names now, and they're gloating about how this is just the tip of the iceberg. Go read the tweet. They said this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now we're going to be getting into the DMs. Is this a kind of society you want to live in? And you're doing this in Charlie Kirk's name too. That's sad as well. We're casting such a wide net because, look, y'all, we're not just talking about people who are truly, these people posting gleefully about Kirk's death. Yes, I'm sure that there's a small percentage of those in the mix who are truly problematic members of society. But you and I know that a lot of these people are just popping off. If Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez or George Soros or Rosie O'Donnell or some other outspoken hated figure on the left died, that people would be cracking some jokes. You know it. Maybe they wouldn't be throwing it up on Twitter. Maybe they'd just be DMing you or something. You fucking know it. Don't lie. You know it. But it feels different. And I'm not trying to say Charlie Kirk was equivalent of Rosie O'Donnell there. I'm just trying to shift your brain a little so you can get maybe where these people were coming from. And look, y'all, as someone pointed out today, a lot of this is not, it's not homicidal malevolence or homicidal intention. It's a kind of ugly, they use the term ugly schadenfreude, because Charlie Kirk did espouse opinions like, for example, and I'm not directly quoting him, but he did believe this, that basically school shootings, that the children who die in school shootings, they are unfortunately the price we have to pay for maintaining the Second Amendment. And do you know what? I actually agree with that. I agree with that. As controversial as that is, I agree with that. But you know what? I also understand that a well-meaning human being with a heart can also, and maybe a little less experience with guns or a little less time thinking about this stuff, or just a different perspective because of their life, that they can also see that as a monstrous remark, that they can see in that Charlie Kirk being monstrously insensitive to the deaths of children. Don't tell me you can't see it. Don't tell me you can't bend your mind a little bit and see where they're coming from. You're lying if you're lying if you can't. You're lying if you can't. And other stuff he said. Again, I'm right of center. I probably agree with Charlie Kirk 70, 80% of the time. And I believe and have spoken on things that are my beliefs. A number of my beliefs are offensive to people on the left. But a number of people on the left did see a kind of karma, or a kind of, shall we at least say, irony in the fact that this was a guy, Charlie Kirk, who seemed rather unconcerned about all of these shootings, or at least thought that, as he said, it was a price we had to pay for the Second Amendment. You can see there's a little bit of irony, little bit of something in there. I'm not saying that I agree with it, think that, but you can see it. So we've got a lot of people with just a different perspective than other people. Ian Runkle, everybody should go to his Twitter page, the lawyer, Ian Runkle, and you should see what he posted about this. I should actually just call it up and read it to you, because it's what I've been thinking as well for the past several days. Hold on a second. And I am going to have to go soon, but he says this. Ian Runkle says this. He says, watching some of the debates going on right now, and it's clear that we've gotten ourselves into a space where people are unable to understand the meaning of events for other people they disagree with. Same language being spoken, but the symbolic language has fractured. And he's right. He's right. Because I have talked to some friends of mine on the left, and I've talked to some professor friends of mine, and none of these people celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, but they did to me basically more or less say a version of, well, he kind of asked for it. And by the way, these are people that I would define as good people. And if you knew them, if you had the pleasure of having them in your lives and not just as social media caricatures, you would think that too. But anyway, these people, I'm telling you, they have a totally different, they're coming to the table with a totally different impression of Charlie Kirk. And it's not their fault. Okay, I didn't know much about him either, although I had a more favorable view of him, of course, than my friends on the left. And what bothers me too, so it's such a wide net. And here's the thing: out of these tens of thousands of people, and out of these people being fired, a number of them, yes, are people who actually didn't say, I'm glad he's dead, or we should kill more people like him. They just basically said a version of what I just said to you. Or they retweeted some people who were saying controversial things. But if we start getting all Gestapo and KGB on people's extracurricular, non-professional speech, and people's just casual popping off on Twitter or Discord chats or whatever, then we are going to chill speech to the point where it's going to be very problematic for human communication and connection. And let me just say, a number of you on the right are not going to like where this precedent is leading, because right now you agree with the censorship, you agree with what's being discussed, but I guarantee you at some point you will not agree. At some point, the goalposts are going to get moved just enough with we're setting these precedents here. That it's just a common thing now that people just get fired for their social media posts. You're going to be setting a goalpost. You think you know where the goalpost is, but it's going to shift on you depending on who's in power or what's in fashion, what the topic is. And we've already seen this. That's what's maddening too. Is the right, like 10 minutes ago, I thought that the right was in favor of an expansive view of free speech. I'm seeing all this shit now about, well, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Yeah, duh. I've been hearing that for like 15 fucking years. It's something that we've all been on the right have been complaining about the left doing. And it's now everybody's just got this amnesia now. And they're now like mouthing the same shit that we've been fighting, I thought, for the last like 15 years. It's madness. And you know where it's leading. You know where it can lead. But people are so angry. They're so grief-stricken. They watched a man get fucking killed on TV, and people are not used to that. Most people do not walk around with the kind of existential gloom that I guess I'm one of the few people that does, because to me, this is just basically like, well, yeah, of course, this is the world we live in. It sucks, you know? But people were existentially shaken by this. It's not something that we're meant to be able to just see and move on with. And then it had all of this whole matrix of thorny political issues attached to it, things that people find deeply upsetting and contentious and deeply held beliefs and stuff. And it just creates this sort of psychological desire for retribution. And let's face it, people are not going to get the retribution they want if it's just directed at Tyler Robinson or whatever his name is, because you can look at that guy and you can see this is just a nutty kid. This is just a mentally ill. These shooters, they just turn out to all be just mentally ill, pathetic, pitiful nuts. And that's not to say there's no political dimension to it, but I'm just saying that people, they feel grief, they feel anger, and they want to have that. They need a catharsis, and they need a proper object for that catharsis. And it's not going to be provided by the justice system. It's not going to be provided by whatever ends up coming of this situation with this Tyler Robinson guy. It's not enough. And so what's very easy is to then turn it on all of these other people who are saying offensive shit, and they're celebrating and all of this, and to talk yourself into thinking that society really needs to be purged of these people. And look, maybe in some cases these people are negatively contributing to society, but we don't assess job performance. We should not, I should say, assess job performance based on people's just casual ignorance, misinformed poppings off on social media, or people turning in other people for private conversations, or whatever it is we're getting to now. Anyway, you can disagree with me on all of these things, and I respect people who disagree with me on all of these things, but I just had to say this stuff because I feel like maybe not all of you, maybe not most of you, but some of you have been really uncharitable in the way that you have reacted to the things that I have tried to express. And it's no profit for me. My political stuff gets me nowhere. It loses me subscribers. It makes people on both sides angry because I don't line up well in any one camp. So I'm constantly pissing people on both sides off. My political views, my political videos don't get views. They don't get donations. It's nothing for me, except it's just my conscience. It is just, honest to God, my conscience trying to put in a voice for something that I believe in, when I see a lot of people I think are not really thinking this through. Maybe my bias there, maybe that's condescending, but that's how I feel. So, Elon Musk last night posted two things back to back. The first was a picture of him looking like Neo from the Matrix. You can look it up yourself. I reposted it on my, I don't want to look it up now, but it's on my Twitter. But he posted a picture of him looking like Neo from the Matrix. And he was reposting something. Someone had made him like Neo in the Matrix. And then the quote was something to the effect of, you can't have a free society without free speech. Basically, what it was saying is that Elon Musk is the messiah of free speech, as Neo was a messianic figure in the Matrix. That by buying Twitter, Elon Musk is basically freeing us from the Matrix of censorship. Which actually, I agree with all that. And then right next to it, the thing that he had tweeted, that Elon Musk had tweeted immediately before this, he had retweeted this Florida congressman who put out a call the other day for people to turn in anyone that they knew who had more or less celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. And he was going to try to take their school funding away from them. He was going to take their jobs away from them. He was going to take their benefits away from them, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, Florida congressman saying, turn in anyone you know who is saying this kind of shit about Charlie Kirk. And he says, we want to quote, kick them out of civil society. And Elon Musk had retweeted that in approval and put 100 next to it. Back to back post. Messiah of free speech, kick people out of society for stuff they post on Twitter. Complete cognitive dissonance from my perspective. I don't know. I got to go, y'all. So unsubscribe if you must, whatever. But I hope that you will think about what I'm saying. At least think about it, for God's sake, because I'm thinking about the things that you were telling me and that my significant other is telling me. I get where you're coming from. Do you really get where other people are coming from on this, though? Do you? Do you? I appreciate your support. As I said, this video will do nothing for me but bad shit. So my PayPal's link is below if you would like to leave me a tip. And if you'd like to call my employer and tell her that I've been saying things that I shouldn't be saying, feel free to do so. She's going to tell you to fuck off too. Dan Campbell, thank you for the super chat. And everybody else, thank you for your support. And good night all. Bye-bye.